with economic uncertainty due to high inflation, rising interest rates, and fears of a recession. Is the Dodge Viper market in a bubble that is about to burst? And should you buy your dream V10 American Supercar now? In our attempt to get you into your dream car without overpaying, first we're going to look at how the market has changed over the past year, and then we'll see if the current market is sustainable. The very first generation of the Dodge Viper was produced from 1991 through 1995. During this time period, it was only available in RT10 trim, and this generation has seen a price increase of 6.2% over the past year. The second generation Viper was produced from 1996 through 2002. There were a total of 4 trims available in various years. These are the R10, the GTS, GT, and GTS ARC. Of the second generation, the RT10 has seen the prices stay flat over the last year. Prices of the GT2 have seen a 7.9% increase over that same period. Second generation GTS models saw a slight 0.7% increase in prices. And GTS ARCs actually saw a drop of 16% in prices over the past year. The third generation Viper was produced from 2003 through 2006. It introduced the SRT10, which replaced the RT10 and GTS models. Over this past year, prices of the RT10 have seen a 15.7% increase. The fourth generation Viper was produced from 2008 through 2010. It consisted of the SRT10 and ACR trims. Over this past year, the SRT10 trim has risen 39%. The ACR saw a price increase of 32.5%. The fifth generation SRT Viper was produced from 2013 through 2017 and was the final generation of the Viper. Available trims were SRT, GTS, TA, and ACR. Over this past year, SRT values are up 8.5%. GTS prices are up 19%. The TA model saw a 15% price increase over the past year. And prices of the ACR rose 17.5% over the same time period. Overall, prices of the Dodge Viper were up and down over the last year depending on the generation and the trim, but they were a bit more up than down. The first and second generation Viper remained the most affordable and the most raw of all Vipers sold. Yeah, you better watch out because these Vipers will bite you if you're not careful. In researching for this video, I ran across a number of listings that have had the price reduced. While over the last 5 years, all prices are up, there does appear to be some volatility in at least part of the Viper market. But does this mean that the entire market is going to see the same volatility? And what is causing it? One factor that does affect the Viper market is that the C8 Corvette has become more available. Because of this, some that are looking at a higher end Viper may decide instead to go with a newer C8 Corvette and get that warranty along with the added performance in the new C8 Corvette. Plus, the C8 Corvette is a little less raw, has more modern technology, and is just a little bit easier to live with. Of course, since the Viper is out of production and no more will be made, it does have that additional collector status. Still, the C8 and the C7 Corvettes do affect the Viper market, as some potential Viper owners will decide instead to go the Corvette route. And this reduces demand at least to some extent, beyond potential buyers deciding to take a look at other options. As I had stated in my recent Porsche 997 market update, some buyers may think twice about buying as interest rates continue to rise. At the lower end of the market, some buyers that previously would have had no problem getting qualified may find it a bit harder to qualify for a loan that they can afford. Even those that easily qualify for a loan will be making larger payments due to the higher interest rate. Of course, for those paying cash, this isn't a problem because you already have the funds. As I've mentioned before, rising interest rates are largely due to the Fed trying to stop a recession. In the United States, in the first 2 quarters of 2022, we have seen negative GDP growth. In most countries, that would be the definition of a recession. However, in the US, a group of 8 economists called the Business Cycle Dating Committee must declare a recession or it isn't considered one. Recession or not, there are still a lot of fears about this economy, which results in a softening of the market. All of this leads us to talk about if the Viper market is in a bubble, and if you should buy that American Supercar now. We have already seen some of the prices dip, and I think for the first few generations, we're going to see it continue to cool. Overall, I think that the 4th and 5th generations will continue to rise, although at a much slower rate. And of course, depending on the trim level. The earlier generations are still pretty much a bargain. So if you're looking to purchase a Viper, those are the best buys in the Viper market currently, although they are a bit scarier to drive. The later generation cars in many ways are just much better cars, but all Vipers will gain in value over time. So now is probably about as good a time as any to buy, because prices may dip a bit, because it's not being produced anymore. I don't think they'll stay down for too long. Of course, if you do buy one, just go out and drive it and don't check the prices, because there might be a slight dip afterwards, but in the long run, you'll probably end up fine. Of course, the very best advice is just to buy one if you want to drive it. And if it happens to go up in value, great. But if it doesn't, at least you had fun driving a V10 American supercar. The thing is that some would much rather have a more refined European sports car. So check out this video to see why now may be a good time to purchase a 997 generation Porsche 911.